So you finally did it. You're making turns, going from toe edge to heel edge. You're off the greens, you're riding some blues. Are you an intermediate snowboarder? Well, I'm gonna give you guys 4 tips to tell you if you are or if you're not an intermediate snowboarder. So tip number 1, or example number 1, if you're a beginner still, or if you're an intermediate rider, is your body position. How are we snowboarding? You know, we can still go from toe side edge to heel side edge with a horrible body position. Whether that's me bending over at my waist. You know, a lot of people are riding bent over and they like to drag their hand on the ground. Like, you're going from edge to edge, but you're not doing it right. That's a very weak position. You can slip out really easily. You can't do any tricks from that position. So you're still kind of in that beginner state. So we want to stand up. But then once we start standing up, what a lot of beginners do is they open their lead shoulder and they start riding really open. Now, when we really advance in our snowboarding, yes, we have somewhat of an open shoulder, but I'm more talking about like leaning back onto your back foot, open shoulder, super scared snowboarding. Kind of like in this position. You know, we're leaning back because we're scared and we don't want to be doing that. An intermediate rider has a stacked body position, shoulders over your knees, over your toes. And when we're going from edge to edge, we're able to shift our body weight over edge and we have a bend in our knees. We don't want to have very stiff, straight knees as well, because what happens is if you get that chatter or you're hitting bumps and you don't have any bend in your knees, so you're not going to be able to absorb any of that. So if you're doing any of that stuff, there's a good chance you're still a beginner rider. So now that we got our body position fixed, we should be making clean turns. If you're not making clean turns as a snowboarder, you're probably still a beginner. So what I'm talking about is, are you riding and kind of just peanut buttering your snowboard, you know, to control your speed? Am I just like, boop, riding? Oh, and that's what I'm talking about. That's why we don't want to do that. And so that's a great example of why we don't want to make peanut buttery turns. We want to make sure we're making nice, tight, leaving a line in the snow on our edge of our board turns. You should be able to make a turn that leaves a line behind your snowboard from edge to edge. Once we start making those turns, we start getting into where we can start carving the board, start getting lower, closer to the ground, and doing some really rad stuff. The next tip, that you're still a beginner, not an intermediate snowboarder, is you don't have an evolution sticker. Throw this thing on the side of your helmet, let everyone know you're part of Team Buckhouse, and boom, you're already an intermediate rider. Obviously, that's a joke, but if you want any of our evolution stickers, they're all links in the description. All right, tip number 3. That you're still a beginner snowboarder, is you're sitting on the ground a lot. An intermediate rider should be able to never touch the ground. From strapping in to being in the terrain park to standing on the side of a run like we're doing right now, we don't have to sit on the ground. Sitting on the ground puts you in a very vulnerable position, especially on a run. Someone can run into you and your back is down there, you know, you get really hurt getting hit being that low to the ground. Your gear is gonna get wet, even though stuff is waterproof. If you're constantly sitting on the ground, you're gonna get what we call snow butt, and you get all the snow caked to your butt, and it's gonna get wet, and everyone's gonna know that you've been sitting on the ground all day. Doing your best to not sit on the ground. Obviously, there's certain situations where it might have to happen, but being a snowboarder that like I can go like from right here, and then if I want to stop like on the run, I literally can just like, oh, now I'm just standing here, super comfortable. Now, before I tell you my last tip of whether you're still a beginner or intermediate rider, please subscribe to this channel. I love giving you guys educational content, helping you guys become the best snowboarders possible. We do a bunch of rad stuff on this channel, so subscribe. Okay, last tip why you are still a beginner snowboarder and not an intermediate snowboarder is your awareness around you. Not everything with snowboarding involves actual ability to ride. You could be riding fast, somewhat competent, and making tricks and doing ollies and jumps, but if you don't know what's going on around you or the people around you, you're a hazard. You're not an advanced and intermediate rider. As you get better at snowboarding, it's kind of your job to notice the people that are lesser levels than you, and you just to give them the space that they need, because you should know, oh man, it's hard to make that toe side turn as a beginner. They're gonna might like just keep going hard right, keep hard right, and if you're cutting close to those people or you're hitting side hits and not caring who's below you and stuff, you're putting everybody at risk. So an intermediate to advanced snowboarder is always knowing their surroundings, knowing what's going on, how fast they're riding. Do they need to slow it down because of the flow of traffic? Do they not need to hit this side hit because someone's there? Or even in the terrain park, did little Timmy fall on that jump? Maybe I should just not hit it this run, and, you know, I'll get it the next run. You know, making smart decisions and just knowing where you are in the mountain, what the mountain's doing. Are you riding into a slower pitch of the mountain? Do you need to hold your speed? Awareness on mountain is really what takes you from that beginner stage to that intermediate level stage. But those are just my tips. I'm sure you guys got a lot more tips, so feel free to blow up the comments with your tip on whether you're still a beginner or an intermediate rider. Maybe we'll progress this thing to intermediate to advanced professional level, whatever you want to call it. And with that, as always, thank you so much for spending with me today. And as always, thanks for watching. Keep evolving. We'll see you guys tomorrow in another video. It's Dave on the channel. We do stuff like this daily.